Nation.
Let's go. Day 2, baby.
Day 2, back at Radio Row. It's DNVR Buffs Primetime. We're presented by Factor Meal Kits. Head on over to factormealkits.com/DNVRBuffs50. Use that code DNVRBuffs50 to get 50% off your order. Loaded show today, man.
Loaded show. A lot has happened since we last graced these airwaves. We're going to talk about it throughout the show, but last night was a whirlwind at Super Bowl opening night. Some new beefs, maybe some old beefs squashed. I might be willing to squash an old beef I had.
Wow.
And I think Bert Kreischer's my new best friend. So
As is Travis Kelce.
Well, that was the beef I was considering squashing.
No, you're a Chiefs fan now.
Well, you're a Chargers fan, so.
Well,
guess we both
go.
suck.
Yeah. We got former Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick joining the show. Of course, Coach Prime's head coach. His final 2 years of his NFL career in Baltimore. Field Yates will be on here shortly to talk about Travis, Shedeur, and much more. We'll get to some headlines, too. We've got a supposed announcement coming also, man.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not taking the bait.
No?
No.
We also have C.J. Hurd news tomorrow. He is supposed to be committing, deciding between UCLA and Colorado.
We also have Colorado's one and only Super Bowl representative on the show.
That's right, yes.
This year, at least.
I think that's everything. Like I said, loaded show. I guess let's talk about opening night, right?
Okay.
It was, first off, it was just madness in there.
It was. So I've been to a few of these. The last two I had been to were at a basketball stadium and a hockey stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can imagine what all the people that were down there on the field on a basketball court size thing. Last night felt really spacious to me. I was like, this is amazing. You can actually breathe down here.
When you cut off the middle area of the field, though, and we're all on the sidelines,
yes,
it was pretty crowded down there.
It was crowded, but not to the point where you couldn't, walk around or, if you saw someone, you couldn't, get to them.
That's true. We'll save a lot of these videos for after the guests, but we'll have Field Yates coming on. Massive Travis and Shedeur fan, by the way.
Yes. We're going to talk to him about that. He was also on the Broncos show earlier. I've actually interacted with him before at these events. One of the coolest guys that I've come across in media, so I'm excited to have him on. What was your number one takeaway from last night?
Number one takeaway from last night. Honestly, I expected to see more people.
Oh.
Like
more celebrities and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then just selfishly for us, for content purposes too, of course.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I think that's a fair point. I've seen some crazy names there, but I think my big takeaway is Bert Kreischer.
Yeah.
Coach Prime guy. Self-proclaimed
Massive.
Coach Prime guy.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was super dope. We'll roll that video. Travis Kelce, as we all know, super Coach Prime guy, but
Travis Kelce picking Colorado to beat Cincinnati.
Switching sides, man.
That shows you the difference between a player and a head coach, because you'll see it later, but I asked Kyle Shanahan the same question, and he immediately knew how to coach speak his way through that one. Even though Colorado doesn't play Texas, he had to make sure of that. Why don't we play some of this stuff now?
Okay.
Because we don't know how soon our guest is going to be here.
What do you want to play? What's something short we could roll?
Let's start with
Kelce? Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, let's go with Kelce. Let's play Kelce.
How many wins for Coach Prime in Colorado next year?
Undefeated. I'm taking Prime every single time. I'm not a betting man, but my money's on Prime.
Not a betting man, but money's on Prime every time, even against Cincinnati. He didn't say that part, but I inferred it.
I asked you, do you think he even knows that CU and Cincinnati are in the same conference now?
Yes and no. I think he knows this. He's heard it.
He definitely didn't remember in the moment,
though. He just hasn't processed it to the point where it came to his mind in that moment. I don't think he was dialed into the whatever Cincinnati's version of our schedule release show was.
That's true.
So, yeah, I think he gets a little bit of a pass too. That was kind of gotcha journalism on my part.
Yeah, but we didn't even realize it till after the fact, too.
I set him up without even knowing. Unlike Will Compton, who I knowingly set up. Let's play that.
All right, here with Will Compton. One question, fill in the blank. It has been 4,819 days since.
I jerked off.
The answer we were looking for was since Nebraska has beat Colorado.
Got him.
Classic, bro. Just hook, line, and sinker.
Oh man, that video. I'll give an updated number on that because this is crazy. I believe that video is now well over 1 million views. We'll get the exact number here in just a second. We are at 1.2 million views on that video because,
Unreal.
of course, Will, who actually was a good sport about this, he quote tweeted it and kind of played along. He said, "Husker Nation, we have a new enemy, and I need him to be eliminated."
Yes. You better watch your back,
I know
bro.
that's kind of scary because Nebraska fans might think he's serious.
Well, and
they're not the brightest.
He obviously, you guys introduced and met each other last night, but
Yeah.
Husker fans have to be very familiar with your work.
I know. They were probably like, "Oh, he's not a new enemy.
Yeah.
We've known him."
You're on their radar already. You
Yep.
have to be.
And then Dave Portnoy quote tweeted it.
Legendary.
That's insane. So yeah, over 1 million views on me cooking Will Compton. But he was actually cool. We stopped rolling and he did come back and he was funny about it. He was like, "Wait, has it really been that long?" I was like, "Yeah, bro, it has." He was like, "Well, I was on that team, so it doesn't count." But yeah, we'll play a little bit more because he actually had a lot of really nice things to say to our own Zach Stevens, who's on the Broncos show, about Coach Prime. So we'll play that in a second here, but we do have our first guest. Hello.
What's up, Field?
What's happening, gentlemen? How we doing?
Mr. Field Yates. Thank
What's
you for
going
joining
on? How
us.
are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm bothering the DNVR airwaves all sorts of times today.
I know.
I'm happy about it, though.
You're on CHGO. You'll be on the Philly one eventually.
Totally. Is this Phoenix right next to us?
Yes, it is.
I don't know if you got. I mean, I'm sure the people that are watching on camera right now can't see this, but we are on this right here, and she can probably confirm. This is like elite hair all across the set right now, including Trevor Sikkema over there. He's got terrific lettuce. I mean, that's one of the criteria to join the show. You got to have good hair, I think.
That is true.
You're the leader in the clubhouse, Field.
Oh, you know what? Sell that to Trevor because he might take umbrage with that.
I'm taking umbrage with that.
I know. I was going to say, we got some strong contenders up there.
I just got a comment from some lady over there on my hair.
Wow, well done,
Yeah.
dude.
Tell that lady to rethink her stance.
Oh, wow.
All right, I'm just kidding.
Hold on, I got a tweet for you to read to you, Field.
Okay. Oh, is it like one of those mean tweets about someone saying something?
No.
No,
Okay.
it's a very nice tweet.
Just tell me if this rings a bell at all. My 2025 NFL mock draft. 1,
Oh yeah.
athlete Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
2, quarterback Shedeur Sanders.
It does ring a bell. That was during the TCU game.
It was.
Yeah, it was. I remember it well, and I'm not sure my stance has changed that much. I
Let's go.
probably should put Shedeur first because quarterbacks tend to go at the top of the draft. But I mean, what a time right now. I understand. I am prepared for the people that are going to tell me, last place in the Pac-12. But I mean, when was the last time Colorado had this much attention on the football program? Probably. Maybe never.
Yeah, I mean
maybe since national championship seasons, Cordell Stewart era,
even then it was a different time,
right? Yeah, totally. And those two are unbelievable. I mean, we're talking about legitimately, probably the best quarterback in the country going into the next season, and things can change, and guys can rise, and guys can fall. But Shedeur, unbelievably impressive, and then Travis Hunter, having us a real chance to be when was the last time we had a guy like him enter the NFL? I don't know, Charles Woodson,
Deion Sanders?
Maybe Deion, right? I mean, I don't know what he'll end up doing, if he'll decide to plant his flag on one side of the ball or the other, or if he'll just say that I can do both. I mean, just the physical conditioning is actually kind of ridiculous. I think it was 112 plays in that TCU game, which there are going to be first-round picks that play 65, 70% of the snaps for their team, which is 50 plays per game. Yeah. He played basically 2+ games in one game, and that was not all that uncommon for him. Obviously, the injury at some point impacted things, but he's fascinating, and he's an absolute stud. There are a few players that I've had a lot of fun with this year in preparing for the upcoming draft where you kind of use them as measuring stick players. I talk about this all the time with Marvin Harrison Jr. in the Big Ten because there are several Big Ten cornerbacks that might end up being drafted this year. And I'm talking about the past version of Big Ten, not the new version of the Big Ten, because Penn State's got 2 really good corners. They've got Michigan obviously has got all kinds of defensive players, including a couple corners. Iowa's got Cooper DeJean, like all these corners that are going to end up being drafted. And what you do is you go back and you track how they played against Marvin Harrison Jr. And Travis Hunter's the same way. Like Josh Newton, the corner from TCU, who mostly covered him during that game, is going to be probably a top 100 pick this year. Guys put a lot of football at a high level. And Travis makes it look a lot easier than it should. Against a guy who's got a real chance to be playing on Sundays as like a starter this year. Like it's pretty impressive. And obviously a lot of work ahead, and I know they got to shore up the trenches. Sounds like it was another busy off season, more so on the transfer portal than it was in the recruiting class. But I don't know, man. It's going to take time. Deion's going to galvanize people, and it's going to probably bother some people because he's got swag and things that people are envious of. But I don't know. I think if I were a Buffs fan, I'd still be pretty fired up right now.
Yeah, we are. As it relates to Travis, what do you think? Do you think you just talked about how he did a great job being covered by a top 100 or a top 100 player? At the same time, he's locking down on guys on the other side as wide receivers. Do you think he goes into the NFL as both, or do you think that the NFL is going to want to put him in a category?
I think he goes in the NFL as both. He's too valuable, obviously, to not play both for Colorado next year. There might be one thing about Prime that I think is cool, Coach Prime, is that he wants to win. They all do, right? He strikes me, and you guys could tell me I'm an idiot, and this is incorrect, of having some sensibility about what's best for the guys in the long term as well. And while I don't think that he would play Travis 112 snaps a game if he felt like it was potentially going to hurt him, he may also have some influence on that decision and say, something? At the end of the day, while I could do both, at that time, it was best for me to be, the best cornerback on the planet. And maybe Deion, maybe his feeling was he was a better corner than he was wide receiver. Maybe that was the biggest influence on it. That might be the calculation that Travis has to make, is that maybe this year, and as I'm showcasing myself, maybe the vast majority of my resources and effort, because on top of playing, you got to prepare, you got to be in the film room, right? If he's at the wide receiver meetings, it means he's missing out on the cornerback meetings and vice versa, right? Maybe Prime is saying, hey, you know what? I think you're a wide receiver. I think you are the next great wide receiver in the NFL. And while we'll use you at cornerback, we're going to make sure that this year, we want you on every Biletnikoff list. We want you to be a first-team All-American wide receiver. But I think optionality is not a bad thing, and I don't think it's going to hurt his value any. I mean, again, it's early in the process, but Shedeur, Travis, there are probably a couple others that are on that short list going into the year, but top 10 pick feels like the absolute floor for those guys, and the ceiling obviously would be legitimately 1-2. For sure. Maybe 3 for Travis if there's another quarterback that really makes us push, but 1-2 feels like it's in play.
I've been saying kind of recently with Travis at corner, I think there's a chance that NFL teams see his ability at corner as more rare. Just because there's so many wide receivers, and there's a lot of good wide receivers.
There are.
You don't see a lot of corners in college who are coming off of zone or man coverage and jumping another route, and like the pick he had.
That interception at the end zone was ridiculous.
And he did it 2 more times against UCLA.
So it's a good question. I think the counterpoint that I would make would just be that while there are a lot more top wide receivers than there are top cornerbacks, the marketplace has not caught up yet for corners like it has wide receivers, right? At the top of the heap is Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams. I think Tyreek's at $30 million a year. Devontae is at $28.5, whereas the top cornerbacks are more closer to 20 to 22 range. So you may, and I get it. Let's get to the NFL before we start worrying about second contracts. But guys, players are mindful of those long-term deals. Freaking a few years ago, DeAndre Ayton, who's of course former big topic of Phoenix podcast, I'm sure, was talking about how his goal was to make it a second contract in the NBA. Right? And because the minute he's in NBA is fully guaranteed, he's got $120 million. It's going nowhere, whether he's a 30-point per game player or a 3-point per game player. So while it is in some ways silly to be talking about the second contract this early, in some ways you're look at now. I think one of the big reasons why we're seeing so many great wide receivers is parents are saying, why would I play hopefully not all parents are like this, but some parents are why would I make my kid play running back?
Yeah.
Because if he's any good, if you're a star 15-year-old running back at your school, your parents may say, yeah, he's a running back for now, but he's a wide receiver at college.
Right.
Because how many running backs are getting paid? The answer is very few anymore. Very few.
And then you have guys like Debo, who obviously playing in this game, who have just kind of become slash players of their own.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, you can use me at running back, but when it comes time to talk turkey for our contract, I'm a wide receiver. Make that very clear, right? He got a wide receiver contract much more than he did a running back contract after a season in which he led the NFL in yards per carry. Like I think he scored on 20.2% of his carries the year prior to his extension, which is just an astronomical number, like completely absurd. But that's part of the reason why he now makes, God, these deals all blend together now. But like, $20 million a year.
Yep. And I mean, we talk about this all the time with Travis, but as much as the team may want to put him in a category and put him in a box, you're going to have a antsy player on your hands. I think one of the main reasons why he plays so much is because he demands. He's just like, I gotta play. Get me out there.
He's competitive.
He would play every snap if they let him.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing that will work in his favor in the NFL. There's a whole other side of the conversation besides what you see on the film. It's the character, it's the football desire, it's the willingness, it's the ability to kind of distinguish yourself from a crowded field. I talk about this all the time now in the draft. Is that what's going to happen is that, like, in this year's class, you're going to see the cream of the crop, right? They're going to rise up, right? Marvin Harrison Jr. is not a top 5 pick because he came out this year. He's a top 5 pick because he's Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a top 5 pick, right? You get to this category of guys that are like, any given year, first-round picks. Then you get through another category of guys that like have a good chance to be a first-round pick this year, would probably be a first-round pick in a lot of years. They also might be a second-round pick in other years. Then you get to this big, fat gap of guys. And it's guys that might be third-round picks this year, they might be fifth-round picks this year. But the difference between a third-round pick and a fifth-round pick might be as simple as, hey, the character's better here, the determination's better there, the medical's better here, the interviews we had were better there. Like, that's the difference maker. And so for Travis, like, we know the football stuff is good, but by all accounts, and you guys would have a much better account than I do, it seems like the player, the person and the player kind of stand on equal footing here.
Amen.
Definitely. And then just with Shedeur, what stood out? I mean, you tweeted that during the TCU game. It's the first game of the season. What stood out to you about him?
There's this. So when you're the son of Deion Sanders, there's this belief that like you're probably an A+ athlete, right?
Yep.
I don't think Shedeur. I don't know. I don't think he's like A++. I think he's a really solid athlete, but what people are going to misinterpret is that he is this dual-threat quarterback. Like, I think he can run. I thought he was the best pocket passer in college football this past year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
when there was a pocket.
When there was, yes, obviously that was. When he had time to throw, I thought he was the best pure passer in the whole country. And I'm talking, you lumped Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels in that conversation too. His accuracy is filthy. I mean, ball placement's off the charts. The ability to like maneuver the pocket when there was one a little bit. Buy a little bit of extra time. He's obviously a very, very good athlete. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if he's a 4.4 guy, if he's more like a 4.55, something like that, right? But there's going to be a misconception. Oh, he's Deion Sanders' son. He's going to have to be this dual-threat quarterback. He's going to absolutely slice and dice you from the pocket. The anticipation is off the charts. The ability to, accuracy is measured in a lot of different ways in football, in my opinion, and I think the opinion of the league. We have completion percentage, which I think is important, but not the whole story. Some of it is like the difficulty of throws that you're making and attempting. Some of it also is that like the difference between a big gain and a 7-yard catch is ball placement, right?
Yep.
If you're a wide receiver that's got a step on a slant and the ball's out in front of you, it might be a 25-yard gain. If the ball's on your back hip, if the ball's right in the numbers, if the ball is errantly thrown, it's a 7-yard gain, right? Or it's an incomplete pass. So I thought that Shedeur really stood out in terms of his ball placement and being, again, I thought the most polished, best pure pocket passer in the country last year.
And we talked about it with him when he was coming from Jackson State to Colorado. And people were like, is this going to translate? Is this going to translate? And it's like...
That travels. That one travels.
That's what I was going to say. Is if you putting the ball wherever you want, doesn't matter who you're playing against.
No doubt. That one will travel. I'm not too worried about that one. So we are still... Like, I've still got a lot of work to do on this current quarterback class. But I do rest a little bit easier thinking about 2025, knowing that, it ain't going to be hard for me to figure out who the best quarterback, at least to my draft rankings, is going into the season. Obviously he's got to prove it. He's got to do it again, and other quarterbacks will have a chance to make their mark. There certainly are some talented quarterbacks in next year's class. I'm not dismissing those by any stretch, but much like Caleb Williams was QB1, it was his sort of role to lose. Same thing for Shedeur going into next year.
Kind of a bigger question, but just since you've been covering the draft and all this stuff, I'm just curious about your general opinion of where college football is headed, really, what do you think is the big fix to kind of get this all settled?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a great question. I think we could do a whole show on this, right? I think that it's important for people to understand that like multiple things can be true at once, and so the fact that players are now compensated for their name, image, and likeness is a massive win, right? I mean, it was an injustice for however many years that guys were, making millions for these schools and seeing zero out of it, right? It also, because of that, multiplied by the transfer rule, has totally changed the game. I mean, I was at the Senior Bowl this past week and talking about a couple of programs that maybe made some changes this offseason on the coaching staff or otherwise, and I was talking to a couple of my colleagues who are big college football reporters or analysts, and I was just sort of going through the top 10 and like sizing things up. And we were talking about teams that could be great this upcoming year. They're like, Field, here's the problem, is that I have my list right now. We haven't even hit the spring transfer portal yet.
Yep.
He's like, we got another 30-day portal where, I'm just pick a random team, right? Like Ohio State's apparently, they've seemingly added every player in the transfer portal possible, but like they could keep going. Or Ohio State's got 4 quarterbacks who are all like notable in their own right, might lose one of those. I don't know that, obviously.
Yeah.
So they could lose one of those guys. So the game's changed so much, and there's a part of me that's nostalgic and misses like the rivalry aspect of it. That to me is a fair thing to say. I'm happy for these players that they are compensated. I do wonder though, and I don't have a solution yet, so I don't like the people that say like you must change this without offering some sort of solution. But I do wonder if there is an eventual need for change to legislate, not players being paid, but legislate the idea that this has basically become NFL free agency 12 months a year. Again, maybe that's me being simple-minded, but as a fan, and I'm just a fan of college football other than when I'm studying these guys for the draft, it's just kind of a bummer when it just feels like what we're doing is we're just eventually, like the ball is just rolling down the hill, and at the bottom of that hill is like 20 teams in one conference that just play for a championship every year.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, and you kind of mentioned like the tradition and the rivalries and a lot of that stuff. Like sometimes it's like a hard-nosed linebacker from one school who's there his 4th year, and he's like talking so much shit about the rival because he's been in it.
Yeah,
a lot of that feels like it's being kind of lost in the shuffle.
So my mom is from Columbus, Ohio. My dad's from Hawaii, so I did not grow up with parents that came from big professional sports states, or professional sports cities, I should say specifically. But my youth, people are asking me. I was an Ohio State fan. That was my first team that I loved, and that includes like I used to have my grandpa used to take me to a game a year, and I'll never forget my first experience at Ohio State, Michigan, and how not only did I go to the game, but like I spent the full week out there, and like my grandpa, and this is again a different generation. I'm 36, so it's not like not like this was 5 years ago, but 25 years ago, whatever it was. Like I went out there on like Wednesday or Thursday, Friday morning. Like we went to the diner where he went every Friday morning. With the same group of people. The radio was on. We're all sitting there listening to local radio, talking about the game ahead. Everybody has their same meal, right? Friday afternoon, you go to the pep rally, right? My grandpa used to send me the Buckeye, bulletin or something, right? I had all the players who were being recruited, little write-ups on the newspaper about these guys. I get it. We're in a much different world than that. But, like, that was the college football that I grew to love. Yeah. I still love college football. I mean, I spend as many hours on my couch on Saturdays as most people do. I'm just saying that, like, there was a sort of a different dynamic in play then that does not exist now that some people might long for.
Yeah. For me, and we've talked about this on this show a lot, is the calendar just seems all out of whack with college football.
It is 365 days a year. I mean, again, just the idea that, like, it felt like it hit us hard this year because there were 3 coaches in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But you're like, all right, so the season's over in, like, November for some teams. Portal opens for players potentially if their coach gets fired.
Yep.
All right, then we have, like, National Signing Day or Commitment Day or whatever, and then it's like, all right, we got bowl games. All right, coach gets fired. More players hit the portal. And you're just like, man, like, it just never stops. Mm-hmm. And once those 3 jobs got filled, Alabama, Washington, and Michigan, it's like, all right, well, in the case of Washington, or like, once Kalen DeBoer goes to Alabama, now someone has to go to Washington, right? Now someone has to go to Arizona, and now someone has to go to San Jose State, right? Like, it's like, the trickle-down effect is so substantial that the transfer portal basically exists in perpetuity. Mm-hmm. I guess it's slowed down now, but BC.
Boston College, yeah.
Friggin' Jeff Hafley leaves his job 4 days ago, whatever it was, and now they have 30 days to decide to leave.
And they're talking about Chip Kelly, like, going to the NFL all of a
sudden, and it sounds like Chip could, potentially be in the mix for an NFL job, maybe not maybe not. We'll see. But Boston College has to hire somebody. It sounds like Bill O'Brien might wind up getting that job. But still, like, if he does that, now Ohio State has to go back to the drawing board with a coordinator, right? So it's listen. I'm not trying to say that it's perfect or imperfect. It's always somewhere in between. But again, like the college football that I think we grew up with, right, is probably closer to. Even if you're not an Oregon State fan, you're like, I want to watch that, or I want to watch Wazoo, Washington, to the Apple Cup, or I want to watch whatever. Is it Nebraska and Wisconsin playing for that hatchet or whatever, whoever it is that plays for that big axe, might be Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Like those games felt special and different, and they feel a little bit less special now.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you guys for having me join. Let's do it. All right, go Bucks.
I know you have family in Colorado, so if you're ever out there, hit us up. We'll have you down at the bar.
We'll love that.
We'll hang out.
I want to get out for a game.
Yes.
I've never been to my favorite stadium. I've never been to a game there. So
please do.
Yeah.
Please do.
Most beautiful scene in sports.
Let us know when you come out.
Yes, sir.
Deal.
See you out there.
Have my word.
Field Yates.
All right, gents.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
There he goes.
We're doing a quick line change here.
Oh, we're going right now.
Yes. Going right from Field Yates.
How's it going, Coach?
To Coach Brian Billick.
Your name?
I'm Ryan.
I'm Jake. Nice to meet you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
Super Bowl winning head coach Brian Billick joining the show. Coach, we cover the Buffs. Coach Prime's the
very
head
good.
coach. How has it been for you just seeing him? You coached him towards the tail end of his career, but now he's a head coach. What's it been like just watching him take up that role?
Where you got to remind me where we're talking about.
We're talking Deion Sanders.
Oh, Deion. I'll tell you what, Deion. I said it when he came out. Deion. First off, Deion doesn't get credit because of his unique skills for being how smart a player he was. He's one of the smartest players I ever had. Understood the game at all levels. And I knew he would be a phenomenal coach because he brings that institutional knowledge, he brings that perspective, and he's got such an innate feeling for the players and what they can do. I knew he would be phenomenal as a coach.
What was it like coaching him for those couple years that you had him?
I had Deion in the later part of his career, and so he came in with a very specific role in mind. And I didn't know coming in how he's going to be. He was phenomenal. He was a great player to coach. He understood the value of coaching, so he appreciated what you did. He knew that he had to support that. He knew that at that point, too, he was mentoring the players on a constant basis. He was a great addition for us at a lot of different levels.
Sorry.
No, everyone that we talk to who has interacted with him at any point, whether it's a teammate, a coach, a coworker at NFL Network, whatever it is, loves the guy. They speak of him in this way. What is it about him?
He's just got that passion for life that's evident every day in whatever he does. I worked with him at the network as well. And his love of the game, loves the personalities involved. He's not afraid to be who he is and love life every day as it comes out. He's just a phenomenal human being that way, in that you just gravitate towards that passion. And it's so consistent. The guy never had a down day. I can't remember a single time where, and you work with someone long enough, whether it's on the field or whether it's the network, and you come in and you kind of, you just don't have it that day, and you're just off, and it's just for any number of different reasons. The guy was never off. He always had that exuberance and passion for what he was doing.
Doesn't that make it surprising, too, that there are so many people who don't know him, who dislike him, and have all these different opinions about him?
That's not untypical. I mean, there's a whole lot of people who don't think a whole lot of me, until they actually work with me. I'm an arrogant, egotistical, yada, yada. Yeah, okay, but then, come work with me, and it turns out, you're not so bad,
We don't think
because
you're
going to look at the persona from the outside and not really understand it from the outside. And but when you are around it, and you can appreciate that passion and see this isn't an act. This is to his core. It's like Ray Lewis. The thing I'll tell you about Ray Lewis, what you saw on Sunday, you got every day from Ray Lewis. So there is that is who they are. And you can appreciate it a little bit more rather than thinking, this is just prime time, showtime. That's, he's just putting on an act here. No, that's him through and through.
How did he end up playing for you guys? Because he was retired for a few years.
Yeah, we were on the back end. It was in the back end of his career. We got short in DBs. We needed a very specific We needed some experience. We needed some depth. We needed someone that had brought that gravitas. And with the group we had, you couldn't just bring in anybody. Mm-hmm. And I forget Ozzie Newsome what the connection. I think it may have been Corey Fuller, who I'd coached in Minnesota and then was with us in Baltimore. Was very close to Deion, and we just reached out and said, "Hey, you want to come in? Here's the role." And you know, he was having the toe issue, and so it was, but it was great. He came in and was a great addition for us.
We have Pat Shurmur as offensive coordinator in Colorado. Just curious if you could give us some insight into his offense. I mean, you called one of the greatest offenses of all time. So.
Well, he's the pedigree, you know, and been around it a long time. He's going to bring a great wealth of knowledge, of understanding what the design of the offense needs to be as it pertains to the personnel, because that's really the key. There's, you know, at the end of the day, everybody's doing everything the same thing. They really are on both sides of the ball. So it's really a matter of tailing. Okay, what do we do best? What do our players do, and how do I integrate that into what we're doing? That's really the key. He's done that in a number of places. He knows what he's doing. It's going to be a good fit.
The linchpin of that offense, obviously, is Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
What do you think of him?
Outstanding talent. He can do some special things. You got to wrap some things around him, obviously, and just what I'm talking about, structure in a way that gets him protected. That's the number one thing to me. You got to get him protected. He was, hell, they were beating him to his drop before he got there half the time. And you could see him, his ability to make things happen and the uniqueness of it. But you got to get him protected, get him comfortable in the pocket, so he can instrument the offense and get to that other talent that you have on the outside.
I want to ask you about Travis Hunter because, I mean, you obviously had Ed Reed, and he made these plays. I remember there's like a video of him talking about this interception he had against Indianapolis, how he like baited Peyton Manning way down the field.
Absolutely. I know the exact play you're talking about. Ed was brilliant, the most intuitive player I think I've ever had. Again, great overall perspective of the game. He's at free safety, and he's got Peyton Manning, who's maybe the smartest quarterback in the history of the game. Knows what he's facing. He knew where Peyton wanted to go, so he leans and starts there to bait Peyton into throwing. And just as Peyton starts his action, turns and sprints to the sideline where he knew the ball was going to be to get the interception. That's rare air, guys that can do that.
We've seen Travis Hunter do some similar things like that, though, coming off of zones, just like, I don't want to say freelancing, but he just has this innate feel for the game. You obviously coach Prime as well, but what makes, I mean, can you coach that at all about these players?
Well, and what underlies that, I should say, is, yes, it is intuitive, but a lot of it comes from film work. A lot of it comes from putting in the time, recognizing it's not just freelancing and, you know, running down hair on fire down the field. Oh, I'm going to do this. But having, by design, I've seen this. I know where it's going. It's anticipatory. It's the only way you could really get it done. Because if it's after the fact, you're never going to get there. So can't guess, but it's anticipatory to a degree where I saw the film, I saw this before, I'm going to do this and then jump there. And so there's a lot of hard work that goes into it as well.
With Shedeur, with Travis, with Coach Prime, what do you think for the team this year?
I'd never bet against Prime. Obviously, it's all about the portal and NIL and whatever, and getting the right players in there to support it. But on a team that had done nothing, was in the dregs of the NCAA, and for him to pull that together and do what he did, generate the enthusiasm, no question he's going to get the right next group of players around that to support it, like in the offensive line to protect them. I don't think there's any question they're going to get it going.
What's your kind of view and take on college football as a whole right now? It feels like we're just in free fall.
It's a cesspool. I hate what's going on. I'll be honest with you. Wow. The NIL, they got to get it under control. I know where we're headed, and I understand it. I get it in terms of we're going to have the Super League. They're going to be 38, 48 teams. We got to get there because right now, the way the NIL, in conjunction with the no-holds-barred portal, the NCAA is a feckless body. We need to put it under some type of auspices that will get that under control. Let the teams compete. That's fine. We're going to pay the players, just like the NFL. But you got to put some structure to it. The way it is right now, it's sad and embarrassing to me.
Coach, it sounds like you could be the new commissioner of college football at this point.
Nah, but they got to do something, and it can get done.
Yeah.
I don't know who's calling the shots. It's not the NCAA, and it's not the college president. So I don't know who it is that's going to call the shots to put this structure together, but it needs to be done, and it needs to be done quick, and it'll be great once they get it under control.
It sounds like the NCAA needs to signal for some relief.
There you go.
Tell us about signal relief.
I wish that could help.
This guy.
You know, this is the real deal. I get approached by a lot of people to do a lot of things. The signal relief is the real deal. It's an amazing product. I mean, it's all about managing pain for players. How do I get back on the field? And so I can get back and work the joints, work the muscles. And there's, you go into a training room, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of stem machines and whirlpools and hydrotherapies. Signal relief is the real deal. It's a military-based. It works on the electrical signals in your body. It blocks we say put it between the pain and the brain. It blocks that signal so that you can then do those things to work the muscles, work the joints. It's reusable, so it's very affordable. You put it where you need it. I'm 18 holes of golf, it's going on my lower back. Right. I get out of the pool 3 days a week, on my shoulder or on my upper back. It blocks that intermittent pain that allows you to do the other things. Motion is medicine, and that's really what this allows you to do. Like I said, very affordable. You put it where you need it, and it's money back guaranteed if it doesn't work for you, but you're not going to get there because, to tell you what, the people that I give this to, the biggest thing they come back and go, do you make an entire bodysuit I can put on this thing? Because wherever you put it, it works.
I have one more question for you on Shedeur, just from a head coach's perspective. You mentioned the fact that there was so much pressure on him last year. Yet, at the end, you look at his season stats, 31 total touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Amazing.
What does that say about his processing speed, that he's not making those bad decisions despite being under all that pressure?
And did it under constant duress. That's the anybody can throw up the ball a lot. Mm-hmm. The great ones in this game, in the NFL, are the ones that are a minimum in that 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And then you get the Mannings and the Breezes, and then you get to Aaron Rodgers, who's like 4-to-1. Yeah. But anybody can throw an interception, right? So the guys that are freelance, boy, I'm going to throw it up, but they throw as many interceptions as they do touchdowns. That does you no good. For him to have that kind of under the duress that he did shows the ability, the judgment, and the ability to deliver the ball where he needs to. Yet the judgment to recognize, no, I can't make this throw, get the ball where I need to. I can't wait to see what they do with him, what Coach Shurmur will do with him. Get him protected, operate more from a more structured pocket. He's going to do the other things running around, but let him make those throws from a more protected structure pocket. Going to be fun to watch what he does.
Awesome,
all right,
Coach.
Guys,
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
There
all
it
righty,
is.
guys. There you
Great
go.
insights. Incredible insights.
2 back-to-back, just insane guests.
Yes.
All right. Shout out to our great friends over at Factor Meal Kits. You guys know we're big fans of Factor Meal Kits here at DNVR. They're easy to make. Just pop them in the microwave. They're also delicious. They got tons of options if you are on a diet, keto, whatever you got going on. Hit them up. They've got all the options to help you stay full.
Also, shout out to our friends over at Breckenridge Brewery. After this, Jake, we got the media party tonight. It's you give media members free things, they will just take them in droves. And tonight, that's free drinks.
Yep.
So it's going to be fun tonight. And hopefully they have some Breck brews over there because we love our Breck brews. Best beers in the country. So check out the beer locator at breckbrew.com because it's not just in Colorado. You can find Breck beers everywhere. And hopefully, again, we can find them tonight. I'll check the Breck brew locator at breckbrew.com.
There you go. All right. Do we want to hit the topics or do we want to do videos?
We hit some of the videos, but I did tease right before we got Field on that we were going to show Will Compton singing the praises of one Deion Sanders.
All right.
So Zach Stevens is talking to him, and he had this to say.
What do you think of Coach Prime?
I think Coach Prime's awesome. I really do. I think he's like, if I was a player, I would love to play for him because I feel like he tells the kids the reality of every situation. Maybe sometimes too much, but the heart, like, he handles it the way the NFL level does, and he doesn't hold any hands. And I like a lot of what Coach Prime does. I've been following Coach Prime. Obviously, or not obviously, like you would know. I was a Dallas fan growing up in the 90s, so I love the theatrics of Coach Prime. But I've been following Coach Prime since he was doing inspirational videos when he's bench pressing on his farm down in Texas. So to see him become a head coach, from high school to go to Jackson State to go to now Colorado, it's been fun watching him climb because a lot of his philosophies he's kept throughout the entire time. And if you're somebody who's followed him since all the way back then, he's like staying true to himself the whole way. So I have a lot of respect for Coach Prime. I think he's awesome.
Love it.
Even Cornhuskers are Coach Prime fans.
Yep, and because of that, I'm going to say something really nice about Matt Rule. Just kidding, no, I'm not.
Ah, got us. Got us. There's nothing nice to say about Nebraska.
No, really not. I guess new beef. Me and Will Compton.
Yeah, man, you stepped up big time last night. You went from CSU and Nebraska trolls to the leader of them all, basically.
Needed it.
Cut the head off the snake.
Yeah, exactly. It won't be the last we see of him this week, too.
He was walking around earlier today.
I found some common ground with him. He hates the Chiefs. For a reason that I don't have any common ground with him, he played for the Raiders.
Oh, fair enough. True.
But, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's just you're also my enemy in multiple other ways.
Yes.
I don't know. It's a complicated relationship.
One of my best friends is a Raiders fan, so we do have that common bond where we get to hate on the Chiefs.
And the Chargers.
Very often, but then, there's those 2 games a year where we're not friends.
Yeah, that's tough. What else do we have in the queue here? We still have Bert, right?
Okay, go for it.
Let's play Bert. I had no idea. I truly had no idea what he was going to say to this.
Yeah.
So I was totally taken aback based on his answer being so well thought out, and he already knew about Warren. Let's just play it.
Here with Bort Chrysler. How many wins for Coach Prime and the Colorado Buffaloes next year?
Oh, well, I don't know if this is knowledge, but they did add Warren Sapp to their coaching team.
Is that a scoop?
Oops. I'm thinking they're going clean the whole year. I think it's going to be a big year for them. I think they walk away with the title. I'll tell you that between them and Florida State, come on, we got to pray for Florida State. Look, I'm a Coach Prime guy. I've been a Coach Prime guy since he was on Sports Illustrated, God rest their soul, with the prime time. Yes. And my dad said, "Now that's what we need in the NFL." And I'm telling you, that's my guy. I grew up in Florida. He's from Florida. He knew Gabby Reese. I know Gabby Reese. I am Coach Prime all the way.
So you have some background on why he's such a big Coach Prime fan, don't you?
Yeah, I guess he's a Florida State grad.
Wow, one of the few Seminoles out there who actually still respects Coach Prime.
Smart man.
Yep.
Smart man. That's pretty cool. That's
Very
pretty cool. He is legitimately hilarious to me. Mm-hmm. I told him after that conversation that Allie legitimately requests that I don't listen to their podcast while we're on a plane because I'm trying to hold in a laugh, and she's sleeping. I'm shaking the seats because I'm trying not to laugh out loud.
Bro, the person behind you must think you're seizing up or something.
At best.
That's good stuff, though. He was a very popular man last night.
He was. And what's crazy is he might have the best possible reputation that you can have, which is just that he's incredibly fun to party with.
Yes.
I mean, every single player, every single big media person, whoever it was oh, I'll hit you up, see what you're doing later.
Yeah, he maneuvered his way through to Travis Kelce, the front row, and that's one of the first things he said after he asked the questions. I'll talk to you later. Which
is crazy. One of the things that I've learned in my years in this business is that athletes party way more than we think they do.
I'm sure.
Because I think you would originally think, oh, they're not partying Super Bowl week. They're just getting right now. They are.
Well, Chris Jones, he had this quote I saw on SportsCenter last night where he was talking about being in Vegas, and he's last time I was here, it wasn't good. We do have one more video to show you guys, too. Former Buff, the only former Buff in the big game this weekend.
Yep.
He was actually one of mine. He's one of the first Buffs that really stood out to me when I was going through the draft process. I thought he'd be a baller. He's still hanging around the NFL, though, Isaiah Oliver.
Yeah, another guy who actually was a track athlete while he was at CU, so he has that in common with Dylan Edwards. And just a really great guy, part of a great Buffs team, and now kind of has done the whole journeyman thing in the NFL. And it's really cool to see a guy like that keep his head down, stay in the league, which is not easy when you're bouncing around from team to team, and now get an opportunity to go play in a Super Bowl.
Yep, was a second-round pick to the Atlanta Falcons. You ready, Alyssa?
All right.
All right, here's Isaiah Oliver.
All right, we're here with Forever Buff, Isaiah Oliver. Man, first of all, congrats on being here. What's this like for you?
Man, crazy. I mean, Super Bowl, it's just what everybody works for. You know what, we work our whole lives to get here, the whole season, everything. That's just the number one goal. So just being here has been a blessing.
Obviously, Coach Prime at Colorado now, but can you take me back? What was your reaction when he got hired and just came into Boulder?
Yeah, I was excited. So we kind of like, there was rumors of it happening kind of before it did, and everyone was like, that's not possible. It's just talking, whatever. But then when it actually happened, I was excited. Just knowing that, he can come in and kind of change the whole culture pretty quickly. That's really what's happened. So I think it's been great.
As a corner who went to Colorado, obviously that decision was a big one for you then, but can you imagine now making that decision with him as the head coach?
It'd be way different. Just going back there, when I went back for the spring game this past season, it's night and day. Like it's a whole different college, I feel like, than from when I went there. And that's really good thing for the football program, really good thing for the sports in general. I think CU's going to be on its way back for sure.
Travis Hunter's just one of the better players in college football overall. What's been your impression of him as you watched him last season in Colorado?
Different. It was really different. Just watching the spring games, really all I saw in person, and then just watching the games on TV. Just a natural freak athlete. I feel like it's the easiest way to explain it. Obviously can play every position on the field, so looking forward to watching him this year for sure.
I think I saw it was Fred Warner who was talking on a podcast about how you guys were all watching the games as a team. Isn't that crazy? From when no one wanted or cared about Colorado to now you got the whole team watching?
Absolutely different. I remember being in the hotel before winning the games. I forget who was on, but it was some team that was in a Power 5 conference, SEC school or something like that, and guys were talking about turn the game off, turn the Colorado game on, and that's just something that obviously I had never heard before, or never experienced in my time there or anything like that. So it was really cool, really, really cool.
We had Nebraska and CSU come to Boulder last year. Yeah. We're going on the road this year. How are you feeling about those matchups?
I like them. I like CU. Just looking at their schedule, kind of just briefly a little bit. I like the matchups all across the board for pretty much every single game. So, and I know that's how they feel. So I'm looking forward to watching them.
What's it like just being here? You've been on a long journey through your NFL career. Now you're here, Super Bowl opening night, taking this in.
Man, crazy. It's just what we knew we were going to be here. From the start of the year, this was always the goal. Always, where we ended up. But just being here and kind of being here in person for my first time, it's different. It's crazy, and I'm excited to be here.
What are you expecting out of Coach Prime and the Buffs this season? If you could put a number on it, how many wins?
Yeah, so last year I felt like they did what I expected them to do. Him being his first year, kind of getting his players, getting going. This year, I would say it's got to be at least eight wins for sure. Get a bowl game and really compete in the Big 12.
Do you have a take on whether Travis Hunter goes in as a wide receiver, goes as a corner, or both in the NFL?
Yeah, and that's funny that you bring that up because I was actually at the spring game with Cheeto, Cheeto Bay. So, and we were talking about that too. We said we see him more as a DB, but then you really watch a lot of his highlights on offense, and it's kind of hard. But I have to see a little bit more of him in person. But right now, I'm gonna say DB. Yeah.
Just being a cornerback in the NFL, could you imagine trying to play both sides of the NFL?
Yeah, I don't think it would be possible. I would have said that about college as well before watching him this past season. But in the NFL, it's just so much more to the mental side of it. It'd be really, really hard for a guy to be able to learn an entire NFL offense as well as play on defense. But I guess if anyone can do it, he can do it.
All right, there he is, Isaiah Oliver, man. So happy for you, and we're rooting for you because we hate the Chiefs in Colorado.
I got you. Appreciate it.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Man. Good luck.
What a guy.
Yeah, man. Super stoked for him.
Did you cover him?
A little bit. So he was a freshman, I believe, on the 2016 Rise team, and that was when I was kind of transitioning from Buffs to Broncos. Mm-hmm. So I did a little bit, but I wasn't on the beat, talking to him a lot.
Yeah. If you are, I guess, neutral for Sunday's game, now you have a reason to root for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, the Broncos ties are deep, obviously, with McCaffrey, Shanahan, Lynn, just the list goes on. But there's one little Buffs tie. Then I guess Travis Kelce also did pick Coach Prime.
There'll be many more Buffs in the Super Bowls in the next coming years.
Amen.
Many, many more. After next year, I guess.
Amen to that. Oh, by the way.
Go ahead.
I'm a huge Bert Kreischer fan.
Yes.
I knew his name was not Bort Chrysler. But they literally had a bit on their show about how no one could ever say his name right, so I leaned into it. And it actually was a callback to there's conflicting reports on who this was in the DNVR office.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they took a clip of Dre when we had a promo for a Bert Kreischer show at Red Rocks. We were like reading it, and Dre called him like something pretty close to Bort Chrysler, and then they played that on their show. So we got a DNVR, Two Bears, One Cave crossover. So I was calling back to that, but it was like they used to run like a supercut of all the ads getting his name wrong.
If you guys think I get names wrong, this is just another reason to listen to the DNVR Draft Pod, by the way. But pull that up and just listen to Dre try to pronounce these names.
Oh my God, he's unreal.
He gets them hilariously bad, though.
And he'll also just like, he won't be reading. You're reading, you know?
Yes.
He'll be like pulling a name from his head and like combine like 3 different people into one.
Oh, man. That's the last video, right?
That's the last one we got. I don't know if, did we? Yeah, whatever.
We're already 45 minutes in.
Those interviews were good. Those were long, too.
They were. Let's do this ad break, then I guess we can actually do news.
Cool.
Shout out to our wonderful friends over at Game Time. You guys already know what it is. Sign up with the promo code BUFFS, BUFFS. You get $20 off your first order. Any game you're trying to head to, not even that, concerts, events, whatever's going on in your city, hit up Game Time. We got Buffs basketball. We have a big weekend coming up. Arizona State Thursday, Arizona coming to town to Boulder on Saturday, right when we get, or the day after we get back, basically.
Yep.
So, you gonna go?
It's the day I get back. So I actually don't think I'm going to make it back in time.
Okay.
Because I have a newfound meeting on Saturday morning.
Oh. Are you going to be here, though?
Yeah.
So you're going to be at Circa for that?
No, I don't know. I think I'm going to be on a plane for that is the problem.
Bummer. Well, tell us about Circa.
Circa, with the goats. And you can download the Circa Sportsbook app anywhere you are and play Circa Squares. And, Jake, I've always had beef with Squares.
Me too.
Because whoever gets in first has a huge advantage because all the odds are the same.
I always liked when the squares are picked at random.
Yes, but I've been in like bars and stuff where they're doing squares and you pay and then you write your name wherever you want. And like I said, I thought that was just unfair because some squares are so much more likely, you know, the 1s, the 3s, the 7s, 4s, and Circa has fixed that because theirs is weighted odds. Based on where your square is. So even if you do get a square that isn't as likely to hit, you at least get paid for it. It's like on the craps table. You know, if the point's a 10 or a 5, you bet it still because if it hits, you're getting paid even better. So shout out to Circa for fixing that problem. It's always been a pet peeve of mine. And download the Circa Sports app wherever you are. And, of course, you must be physically located in the state of Colorado, must be 21 or older. All rights reserved. Circa Sports Colorado encourages you to gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org.
I'm going to steal this from our friend Arden. If you guys have been enjoying the Super Bowl content, drop W's in the chat.
Dubs. What's crazy, Jake, is we talked about this yesterday, but, like, this gets crazier, like, as the week goes on.
Yeah.
Wednesday, tomorrow is going to be a totally different buzz in here.
Oh, I can
Thursday is the day where everyone starts pulling up, and we'll also be doing a show on Friday here. So stay tuned. It's only going to get better.
Even just walking in today, it's like a noticeable, like, more buzz. Obviously more people here, but just you feel the ramp up coming.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate the W's in the chat. All right, let's actually talk about the Buffs and get some new stuff out of the way.
Okay.
A lot of people, everyone's talking about this today. Allow me to pull it up. Coach Prime on Instagram this morning posted a picture of a text message exchange. You can pull it up on his page. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's an announcement coming tomorrow at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So I want to play a game with you.
Okay.
There's a series of things this could be.
Yes.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most likely, 1 being the least likely, I want you to rate these next topics. People keep saying it's the DC. 1 to 10. Are we getting a DC announcement tomorrow at 10 a.m.?
I'll give that a 3.
Okay.
I'll give that a 3.
I'm just going to leave it there?
I mean, I feel like my answer as to why is going to come up as we move on through this game.
Uniforms, then. People saying, all right, these are the uniforms. We're getting the uniform announcement now.
A 5.
Okay.
I think that's on the table, but unlikely.
I guess just a Super Bowl announcement, whether it be, I don't know, an ad, whatever you may think it may be.
I think that's a... I'll put that as a 6. It doesn't add up with the language that's in there.
I think that's all I got, actually. I only got 3. But
so I'll tell you what I think
let's
this
go from
is.
there.
I think this is a new product that Coach Prime has created, whether that be new sunglasses or new something or other that he has been a part of that is coming out. That is my guess as to what this is. I think that it's very smart to get everyone's eyes and ears perked up because it's certainly everyone's waiting for news on the two big things that you mentioned. The number one is DC, and we even got a little
it's not
tidbit from Coach Dancy yesterday when he told the players, like, I'm going to be busy with the new coordinator stuff. And they're like, Kyrie Mans was like, do we have a new coordinator? And he said, we're about to. So that's coming soon, and I think everyone's kind of hoping that it's that. But I don't think it's that. And so I think this is a smart use of the leverage that Coach Prime has right now, with everyone waiting with bated breath to launch something. So that's my guess.
Some people have said it's recruiting-wise, but as we talked about a few weeks ago, he's already gotten, I think, slapped on the wrist enough for posting stuff on Instagram. So I doubt it's that. Warren Sapp, someone else said in the comments, don't think that'll be the announcement.
Let me see. Can I see the text exchange again?
For it. You haven't read it yet, have
No,
you?
I have.
Okay.
But it's like, I'm glad we switched that up. What a difference that made. There's certain like little things that I'm like, oh, it doesn't really make sense for Warren Sapp, right? You know what I mean? That would make sense for like a uniform thing, which is why I put that higher on the list. Like, oh, I'm glad we changed this little thing about the uniforms. And then, I think it makes most sense again for like a product. Oh, we decided to go this way or did that. So that's my guess.
People keep on saying this. He just like screenshotted his and Smitty's text exchange, but he can just walk down the hall and talk to Smitty. Like, I don't think Smitty's texting him.
I don't know.
I mean, he could definitely.
Like a picture.
Sure. I don't think it's uniforms, a commitment, or anything of the sorts.
It'd be interesting if it was uniforms, because last year Coach Prime didn't want to do like announcements on uniforms. The biggest kind of announcement he did was just talking to Aaron Andrews on that Thursday night football game, saying it's going to be gold like you've never seen it before. But if you remember, like they just rolled out the uniforms. A lot of schools do, a Thursday graphic drop where they show everyone what they're going to wear. Yeah, exactly. Maybe if you're playing for clicks. But no, I'm just kidding. It wasn't his style last year. He just wanted to say, you'll see it when it gets out on the field. But with the new drop, it would make sense to, have a kind of make a big deal out of it. I remember the first time when CU actually unveiled the uniforms that they have now, they did like a whole press conference with like, players modeling it and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe that's what the announcement is.
People are throwing out NCAA football.
Wow, that's a good one. All right, I'll rank that 6.
Okay. If it's NCAA football, it's got to be like a
cover. The cover.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Would it be Coach Prime on the cover?
What if it's Coach Prime, Travis, and Shedeur on the cover?
Oh my God. I'm buying 2 copies. Never opening one.
One for a frame, yeah, for real.
A few more things. I don't think we've actually talked about him too much on this show, but we do have it's National Signing Day tomorrow, by the way. I don't know if you realized.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That used to mean something.
I know. The top uncommitted safety in the 2023 class is C.J. Hurd. He was committed to Florida State at one point. He is now between Colorado and UCLA. He's out of Atlanta, Georgia. 247 Sports Composite, 3 stars, 658th overall player in the country, 64th ranked safety. There's so much Chip Kelly and UCLA weirdness going on. He can't
so
possibly
true.
be committing to UCLA, right?
That's so true. And once again, Jake, I have heard that Herd could be joining the Herd.
Well done.
No, actually, I have heard that the Buffs have a really good chance here. Just to quickly talk about it, Chip Kelly, if that wasn't true, he would have that shot down so quickly, because it's a really bad look to be a head coach of a college team who wants out. You know what I mean? If that wasn't true, let's just say someone reported today that Deion Sanders is looking to become a defensive coordinator or a head coach in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Again, completely made up thing. If that's not true, you fire up the PR machine to get that report killed as quickly as you possibly can, because it's so harmful to recruiting, the transfer portal, everything. You can't have that type of stuff dangling out there because it hurts you. Have you heard if it was Coach Prime, he'd just make a video saying, like, this is categorically false. Have you heard anything from the Chip Kelly camp trying to shoot this down?
No, and I think we mentioned it yesterday. This is just so weird, because before the USC game, we heard Chip Kelly's on the way out. UCLA can't wait to fire this guy after they lose this game. So he just goes out there and wins the damn game. They end up keeping him. I put him in my article for potential offensive coordinator candidates, and people were like, why would you do that? This is exactly why.
Yeah. It's a weird fractured relationship. And again, I think Chip Kelly wants this out there because he's hoping that an NFL team will bite. It's a crazy situation, but it should help the Buffs in this battle for C.J. Hurd.
So C.J. Hurd, just a little background here. Two-way player, primarily played safety. Last year played in 10 games, 41 tackles, 6 PBUs, and a forced fumble. He only had 141 yards of total offense. So primarily it looks like he's going to come in on the defensive side of the ball, but he can kind of do both ways. Plays at Woodward Academy, again, Atlanta, Georgia. Stay tuned tomorrow.
And I believe one of the
2 days, Thursday actually.
One of the highest rated remaining unsigned players. So there you
go. Decently high 4-star.
3-star.
3-star, sorry. He does have 55 offers, 247 says.
That's a lot.
That's a shit ton.
That is a lot.
Last thing I got. I found this article came up today.
ESPN Plus, bro.
Yeah.
High roller.
I mean, I get it. It's all bundled in with the phone. But Bill Connolly, we've talked about his stuff before. He does like the football power index and stuff.
Yeah.
He did returning production percentages for all 134 FBS college football teams. Colorado ranked 15th in the nation in terms of returning production at 72%. Top of the line is Virginia Tech at 86%. Iowa State at 85%. Nebraska actually at 77%.
It's returning bad production, though.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't clarify exactly which production. But offensively, he does break it up into offense and defense. The Buffs on offense, I thought this was surprising. They're ranked lower than they are defensively. 41st in returning offensive production with their starting quarterback coming back. Their leading rusher obviously gone off to join Sean Lewis. But at 69%, nice. Defensive side of the ball, 76%. 13th in total returning production on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, and if you remember, Jake, this last year was a place that Colorado could not be tracked. Every metric was struggling with Colorado because they were all new. It was all new players. Everywhere you went, new players. And so they could, like, all the production, all of the players who were, or all of the, what's the word I'm looking for? Outlets that are like trying to project wins and all the metrics and everything didn't have Colorado. Well, now you're starting to see what it looks like when you're able to bring players back, and it's going to be a huge advantage for this team. I mean, there's still a lot of turnover. You do have a new offensive line. You are going to be integrating some new players, but the challenge that they face isn't even anywhere near what it was last year, and they're going to be able to use that returning production to get better. So there you go. Also, Jake, you got to turn your pass around.
Oh, sorry.
I just got an email about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay. I thought the laptop would help me hide it. Guess not.
I mean, it might be hidden, but.
But yeah, as you said, it's just we actually have a foundation now to go off of. We don't have to worry about how. There are pieces we have to learn. How exactly are they going to fit? But it's not the whole team this time. But they're in good shape when you look at this, man. I mean, there's some teams above them. It's not all good teams who are in the top 15 here. I mean, it's like Kennesaw State's in here.
Well, yeah, because it's returning production, not, it's
right.
what percentage of your production is returning? It doesn't know if the production was good or not.
I mean, Oklahoma State's at 4th. We've talked about them a lot. They obviously made the Big 12 title game last year. That's really the best team.
Heisman candidate at running back.
Yep, definitely. Utah's right under Colorado at 16. So what else do we got? TCU doesn't matter this year. They're at 21 though. But it was interesting. I wish I had the one from last year, so we could compare how much that really actually meant to team success last season.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something we'll do.
We can pull that up, I'm sure.
Later in the week.
But it is nice to be able to have some continuity. Mm-hmm. A senior starting quarterback, to me, the greatest weapon in college football. To bring back, essentially your wide receiver one, cornerback one, and Travis Hunter. We talk about those guys a lot this week. But, it's Jimmy Horn, it's Shiloh Sanders, it's Levante Bentley, it's, all of these different guys throughout the team that aren't going to be completely in transition as they come in next year. Like, they'll have established roots. They know how things work. They know how Coach Prime coaches. That it compounds as you are able to kind of get to a place where eventually, a lot of the players on the team are going to be returning players, and I think it's an advantage for this team this year. And last year was something that we just couldn't even, like a metric like that, they would have been like last.
Yeah, definitely.
And we were just like, we can't really say that means anything because we don't know what it's all new players.
Well, and even then, 2022 was terrible. It'd be lowest production,
right.
Whatever production we had, it wouldn't have mattered anyway because it was so bad.
Yeah, you could have returned 100%, and it would have hurt the team.
Yes. Anything else you want to hit today before we get to questions?
Let's talk to the people.
Let's talk to the people.
I'm curious, since we don't have our monitor in front of us, I can't see the comments. I'm curious how the people are feeling about these shows we've been doing from here.
I think they're enjoying them.
I'd love to hear it.
What do we got?
Okay. First question from DD13DF12. RK and Jake, what do you guys think of Shane Cokes being played out of his position last season? His parents said he's an edge, not a DT. Played NDT to help where CU lacked.
So I'm assuming this is coming from Big Dog Chico. I think he had Shane Cokes' parents on.
Yeah.
I think he was kind of an interesting one last year, just when you think about coming up from the Ivy League. I can't remember what he played at Dartmouth exactly. I think he was defensive tackle.
It was like defensive end.
Okay.
So it's wasn't like a outside linebacker, it's that bigger end.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, look, we love Shane Cokes. I think we all would have liked him to be more productive last year, though.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't really a factor in a lot of games, but this might be the reason why. I mean, not only was he going up a level, not only was he finally in these Power 5 facility strength programs, but he could have been playing in a completely out of position.
Well, and out of position is irrelevant to me because what really matters is the fact that he was going from not only up a class of competition, but up a strength and weight. Those interior offensive linemen are a lot of times going to be your strongest offensive linemen, and it's just a huge transition. They needed him there, though.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was one of the biggest players on the defensive line, and that's so it wasn't even optional. I wouldn't blame the coaching staff either for making the best of what they had and having to play him inside. It'd be interesting, though, to see if he's able to get some rundown edge looks in this defense this year.
We brought in some big edges, man.
Yeah.
I know we had them last year, but they have a type at edge, I think, now. Tajay McCoy didn't play, and I think a lot of that was because they wanted him to get bigger and stronger so that when he is maybe around 250 like a lot of these guys are, he can actually come in there and be a factor.
But, I mean, if you're able to play Shane, outside on first down and helps, solidify the run game, then I'm all for it. And heck, I think he had 8 sacks at Dartmouth the year before, so it's not like he's one-dimensional there.
Also, I mean, we've got Barnes coming in, we've got Chidoze coming in.
Well, that's what I mean. You're much better off on the inside than you were.
Yeah, we actually have true defensive tackles.
Where would you put him?
Shane Cokes, judging off of last year, I think he does profile better as like a 5-tech kind of big defensive end. I mean, we were obviously...
He could slim down, too. If he probably had to bulk up last year to play that position. Maybe he slims down and is able to be a little more, fast.
It's a good point. What else we got?
Next one from DeAndre Campbell. I heard that the Commanders have released Eric Bieniemy as their OC. Do you think Coach Prime will hire him as an assistant OC to Pat Shurmur?
We talked about this yesterday. It doesn't seem likely. There may be another co-OC, though.
There may. There are still some names still in the mix. I would just say this. Eric Bieniemy, I would assume, is going to have other big opportunities.
Oh, definitely.
To not just be like co-OC or offensive analyst at Colorado. That being said, if those don't come, maybe there's a situation where he wants to come home for a year.
Yeah. What else?
Next one here from Smoke said, is there going to be a tailgate party for this Arizona game?
At Arizona?
Saturday?
Oh.
They're talking about the football
They're
game.
probably talking about the basketball game. If that's the case, then no. But I would recommend going to the Dark Horse before because that always pops off.
But for the football game?
For the football game, yes.
There you go.
And then a super chat from Mix In It says, just bet $800 with my wife's overwhelming support to see our Buffs play UCF, and it's one of the best purchases I've ever made. Love you guys. Please tell me you will be there too.
Absolutely.
We will be there. We're gonna be at every road game next year. But that's exciting, man. I'm glad that you were able to make that happen, and that's. I hope it's just as good. I hope you feel just as good after the game as you do right now.
Everyone is looking forward to this game.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And UCF plays ball at home.
Mm-hmm. We'll see how good they are this next year. What's next?
That's it.
That is it.
All right. Well, we've been going over now.
Jasmine asked thoughts on Steve Belichick going to UW. Do you have any thoughts on that?
What?
You didn't hear about this?
No.
Steve Belichick's going to be the defensive coordinator for the Washington Huskies.
Wow, there's Jed Fish pulling some of his old NFL contacts. Yeah. I mean, do we think that Steve Belichick was good in the first place?
I'm kind of out on all the Patriots' former staff. Obviously, Belichick's like the GOAT head coach, but he didn't get hired this cycle.
Or he might have just had a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
It's always hard to tell. Like, it's a defensive assistant under a all-time great defensive coach. You never really know, Mm-hmm. It's one of the reasons why Eric Bieniemy left Kansas City is because it was like, well, he's never going to get any credit for what's going on offense working with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Like, there's two whole people in front of you that are going to get all of their credit before you even get a little serving. So with Steve Belichick, well, I guess we'll see. He's got a chance to make himself build himself up.
Yeah. Do you know where Artemis's question is in the chat?
I might have missed it, but he asked them about Shedeur's yards and touchdowns this season.
40?
Yeah.
Get to 40?
No, he's getting 40.
4,000?
4,040.
Love it. Less than 5 picks?
4.
Wow.
That's 4s across the board.
That sounds like a Heisman caliber season, bro.
Oh, it's gonna be. He's gonna be in the mix.
Better be.
Yeah, I would take that bet as soon as it comes on to DraftKings.
There you go. You want to read that super chat?
Yeah, last minute super chat here from Tackle and Travel says, what do you think of returning players like Omarion Miller and Jordan O? Do you think Cam Michael or Draylon Miller can make an instant impact?
Let's you start.
Oh, okay. There was 4 players mentioned.
What do you think of returning players like Omari Miller and Jordan O? I'm assuming they're talking about the wide receiver core. We had a lot of 3 stars come in last year.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, Omar and Miller is a beast. I think you put him on your My Guys, didn't you?
I think you took him from me.
He's someone's guy.
He definitely got drafted.
I think that he's going. No, I think it was definitely you who took him.
May have been.
Anyways, he's got it all. And it was interesting last season hearing Travis kind of say that he struggled a little bit early like Cormani did just with the responsibilities of college football. And like we talk about returning production, it's also just like returning understanding.
Yeah.
And both of those guys are going to be more mature, more in the loop, more knowing what to expect from playing college football. So I'm excited for O. And then Jordan Onovu?
Yeah, Onuvwe.
Was it? No.
He was a kind of a holdover, he was a prior regime commitment.
Right. Another guy that's just like, I think there's going to be some players that break out this year that people weren't expecting, whether it's like Onuvwe, like Kofi Taylor-Barracks. They're just like some players that people had maybe forgotten about that pop up in their second year, you know, whether it's a physical breakthrough or a mental breakthrough of some sort. Guys pop, you know. People are going to make it's just like people say, players make their biggest jump from rookie to second year. It's the same thing from freshman to sophomore year. You're not drinking from the fire hose anymore.
Yep. And then what was the second part of that? Something about Cam Michael and Draylon?
Yeah. I think Draylen's going to be a part of the offense. I think he's going to get a package right away. And Cam Michael is going to be one of the fastest players on the field, so he's going to get his chances too.
Shout out to Adam Munster Tiger. We talk about him a lot, but he wrote this article on 247 Sports about Cam Michael and Draylon Miller. They're not in Boulder right now, and the reason is because they're finishing up their basketball seasons at their high school. They're both playing very, very well. But where was I looking at? This quote from Cam Michael said, where is it? Oh, here he says, I will start out at wide receiver as I master the position. Then I will work in at defensive back and the other positions they want me to play. So he's starting at wide receiver.
Speed.
We are loaded, bro.
Yeah. And, I mean, this offense is going to be so just ripe with opportunity to take advantage of mismatches. You're going to be able to get Draylon Miller on a small guy. You're going to get, Cam Michael in the slot. Like, it's just, I think Pat Shurmur has to be in heaven right now.
He's got to be. He's got the best quarterback in college football, the best overall player. The speed is off the charts, and now we just got a brand new offensive line.
Yep, and strength and jumping ability, and I mean, it's just everything. He's got a stud tight end. This is gonna be it's gonna be fun.
Can't wait. Anything else?
Just a last-minute super sticker from Big Teasy.
Describe it.
Our guy.
Pair character lifting some weights saying, keep it up.
Let's go.
Thanks, Teasy.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right.
That does it. It's been a fun 2 days, man, and we're only just getting started here. It's going to ramp up. We'll see who shows up throughout the week.
All right. See you guys tomorrow.
Let's go Buffs.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.